She just texted, I don't know, maybe. And you're already drafting 3 different responses in your head. Bro, delete them all. Because what you say next doesn't matter half as much as what you've already trained her to expect from you. And if you've been doing what most guys do, validating too fast, being too available, explaining yourself, you've already taught her she can keep you on standby while she figures out if something better shows up. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to flip that dynamic. So she's the one hoping you say yes. But if you want the fastest route to reading her games before they even start, I wrote the truth detector specifically for this. It shows you what she really wants, if she's using you and when she's playing games. First link in the description. It'll save you months of confusion, but let me show you the core principle first so you understand why this works. Think about a woman you wanted something from recently. She probably gave you just enough to keep you interested, but not enough to give you what you actually wanted. That's not an accident. That's a test. And here's what that test is actually measuring. Can you walk away? Because the moment she knows you can't, the moment she realizes you'll keep trying no matter how little she gives back, your value drops to 0 in her eyes. And that's not because she's cruel, but because she's wired to pursue what might slip away and ignore what she's already caught. Robert Greene wrote about this in The Art of Seduction. He called it the illusion of scarcity. The people who fascinate us most are the ones we're not sure we can have. So when you make yourself too available, when you make it obvious you're waiting around for her signal, you kill that illusion. She stops wondering if she can get you. Therefore, the chase dies. But most guys hear this and think the solution is to play games. Ignore her texts. Act busy when you're not. Pretend you don't care. And that works for about 48 hours before she sees right through it. Because women have been dealing with fake scarcity their entire lives. They can smell try hard from a mile away. So what's the difference between real scarcity and the fake version that makes you look desperate? It's simple. Real scarcity comes from actually having options, not pretending you do, not posting thirst traps with other women to make her jealous, but actually building a life where her yes or no doesn't determine whether your week is good or terrible. I'll give you a concrete example. I watched a friend of mine handle this perfectly about 6 months ago. The girl he'd been seeing for a few weeks suddenly went cold, stopped responding, started posting stories with other guys. Classic move. Most guys would have sent the "Hey, did I do something wrong?" text, or worse, the "I miss you" text. But he didn't do any of that. He just kept living, went to the gym, made plans with his boys, started talking to someone new. No announcements, no passive-aggressive posts, just genuine indifference. 3 weeks later, she texted him at midnight. "I've been thinking about you." And here's the part that matters. His first instinct wasn't relief, it was annoyance, because by then, he'd actually moved on. He wasn't faking scarcity anymore. He'd become genuinely scarce, and that shift changed everything about how she pursued him after that. But most guys never get there because they're so focused on one specific woman that they never build the life that makes scarcity real. They keep themselves available just in case she changes her mind, and every day they wait, they become less attractive to her. Therefore, the first thing that has to change is how you spend your time when she's not giving you what you want. Stop treating her silence as a puzzle to solve. Stop analyzing her last text for hidden meanings. Stop rearranging your schedule around the possibility she might be free, because every minute you spend doing that is a minute you're broadcasting that you don't have anything better to do. There's a principle in behavioral economics called loss aversion. People fear losing something they have more than they desire, gaining something new. When you're always available, she has nothing to lose. You're already hers whether she invests or not. But the moment you create genuine distance, suddenly she's facing a loss, and loss triggers action way faster than opportunity ever does. This is exactly what I break down in the truth detector. How to read when she's actually interested versus when she's just keeping you as an option. Because the worst thing you can do is invest in someone who's already decided you're the backup plan. Links in the description if you want to stop guessing and start knowing. But let me show you what this looks like in practice. Picture yourself at a bar. She's there with her friends. You've been talking for 20 minutes and it's going well. She's laughing, touching your arm. All the signs are green, so you go for the close. "Let's grab drinks this week," and she hits you with it. "Yeah, maybe. I'm pretty busy though." Most guys hear that and immediately start negotiating. "I'm flexible, whatever works for you." Or they try to lock it down harder. "Come on, just one drink." But watch what just happened. The moment you pushed past her hesitation, you told her something critical. You need this more than she does, and that killed it. So what should you do instead? You agree with her. "Yeah, you seem busy. no worries. And then you do something that will feel completely wrong in the moment. You walk away, casually back to your friends or to the bar or wherever, because you just took away the chase before she decided she didn't want it. Now her brain automatically expected you to try harder. She expected you to convince her. But when you didn't, when you just accepted her soft no and moved on, you created a gap between her expectation and reality. And that gap is what makes her reconsider. Within 10 minutes, maybe 20, she's gonna circle back because you genuinely weren't bothered by her response. But here's the catch, because you can't fake this. If you walk away, but you're still standing there hoping she notices, if you're just waiting for an excuse to go back and talk to her again, she'll see it. Women are built to read social cues. They know when you're pretending not to care. And the moment they catch you pretending, it's over. Therefore, you need to actually recalibrate what matters to you. This isn't about tactics. It's about fundamentally shifting where your validation comes from. Because if her approval is the thing that makes you feel good about yourself, you'll never be able to walk away convincingly. You'll always give off that desperate energy that repels women faster than anything else. I learned this the hard way. There was a girl I wanted badly about 4 years ago. I did everything wrong. I tried to logic my way into her saying yes, and every time I pushed, she pulled further back. Not until I actually started focusing on other things in my life that she started showing up. That's when I realized something most dating advice completely misses. Women don't want you to need them. They want you to choose them. And you can't choose something if you're desperate for it. Choice requires options. It requires the ability to walk away. And the second she senses you can't walk away, the second she knows you'll take whatever scraps she's willing to give, she loses interest completely. This shows up everywhere once you start looking for it. Watch how she responds when you're genuinely busy versus when you're pretending to be busy. When you're actually doing something that matters to you and she texts, you respond when you respond. There's no calculation, no strategy. You're just genuinely occupied, and she can feel that through the screen. But when you're sitting there staring at your phone, waiting for her to text, and then you force yourself to wait 30 minutes before responding to seem busy, she knows, maybe not consciously, but something in the way you text, the energy behind your words, gives it away, because real busy and fake busy have completely different frequencies. So the fix isn't to act less interested, it's to actually become less available by filling your life with things that matter more than whether she texts back. And I know that sounds impossible when you really want someone, but that's exactly why it works. The moment you prove to yourself that you can survive without her validation, you become the kind of man she can't ignore. Here's a test. Next time she takes hours to respond or says maybe to your plans, don't react, don't play games, just genuinely move on to the next thing in your day. Make plans with your friends, hit the gym, work on whatever you're building, and notice how much lighter you feel when you stop waiting for her permission to have a good day. But let's talk about what happens when you actually get what you want from her, because this is where most guys fumble everything they just built. She finally says yes, she comes over, she's interested, and immediately they switch into relationship mode. They start texting her good morning every day. They become available whenever she wants. They stop seeing their friends as much. They essentially hand her all the power they just spent weeks building. And within a month, sometimes weeks, she's pulling back again, getting distant, and they're confused because they think they did everything right. But here's what actually happened. The version of you that she said yes to doesn't exist anymore, because that guy had options. That guy had a life. That guy didn't need her. And now you've transformed into someone who revolves around her schedule. So she's not losing attraction to you. She's losing attraction to who you became. But this is the part nobody talks about. Getting her is easier than keeping her interested, because getting her just requires you to be high value long enough to catch her attention. But keeping her interested requires you to stay high value even after she's invested. And most guys can't do that because they think the goal is to get her to commit and then they can finally relax. Wrong. The goal is to build a life so compelling that her presence adds to it, but her absence doesn't destroy it. And that's not something you fake. That's something you actually construct, day by day, decision by decision. Here's what that looks like practically. You're seeing her regularly now. things are good, but you still have your gym routine. You still make time for your boys. You still work on your side project or your career goals or whatever you're building. She texts you during these times, and sometimes you respond right away. Sometimes you respond 2 hours later because you were genuinely doing something else. There's no pattern she can predict, no schedule she can rely on, because you're not being strategic, you're just living. And this drives her crazy in the best way, because she can't figure you out, she can't pin you down. Most guys become predictable the moment she shows interest, but you stayed unpredictable because your life didn't change just because she entered it. That's the secret. The entire game comes down to this: never let her become more important than the life you're building. Not because you don't care about her, but because the moment she becomes your main focus, you stop being the man she wanted in the first place. I see guys mess this up constantly. They meet someone great and immediately start planning their entire existence around her. Cancel plans with friends because she might be free. Skip the gym because she wants to hang out. Stop working on their goals because spending time with her feels more important in the moment. And every single time, within weeks, she starts to drift. But why does this happen? It's because women are attracted to trajectory. They're attracted to men who are going somewhere. And the moment you stop moving forward, the moment your life becomes about maintaining her interest instead of building your future, you become boring. Chris Voss, the FBI negotiator, talks about this in his book on negotiation. He says the most powerful position in any negotiation is being willing to walk away, not threatening to walk away, not wanting to walk away, but actually being comfortable with it. Because when you're genuinely okay with either outcome, you stop negotiating from fear. You start negotiating from strength. Same thing applies here. When you're genuinely okay, whether she stays or goes, when you've built a life good enough that her presence is a bonus but not a necessity, everything changes. You stop trying to control her feelings. You just exist as yourself and let her decide if she wants to be part of that. And here's the irony. That's exactly when she decides she can't lose you, because for the first time, she realizes she actually could. But let me give you the flip side. What about when you actually want something specific from her? Not just her time or attention, but something concrete. Maybe you want exclusivity. Maybe you want her to meet your friends. Maybe you just want a straight answer about where this is going. How do you ask without seeming needy? You don't ask, you state. There's a massive difference. Asking is, would you maybe want to be exclusive? Stating is, I'm not seeing other people. I don't want you to either. One is seeking permission, the other is establishing a boundary. And boundaries are attractive because they show you have standards. But most guys are terrified to state what they want because they're afraid she'll say no. So they hint, they suggest, they try to feel out her position first before committing to their own. But that wishy-washy energy is what makes her pull back. Because if you're not sure what you want, how can she be sure she wants you? Therefore, when you want something, you say it directly. No build-up. No justification. No, I know this might be too much to ask, but just clear communication about what you're looking for. And then, this is critical, you give her space to decide without pressuring her for an answer. Because here's what happens when you state what you want and then go quiet. She has to sit with it. She has to actually think about whether she wants that too. And if she doesn't, if she comes back with excuses or maybes or I need more time, you have real information. You know she's not on the same page. And that's when you make the hard call. But this is the moment most guys fail. She says she's not ready for what you want and they immediately backtrack. No, yeah, I totally get it. We can take it slow. I'm not in a rush. But what you just told her is that your boundary wasn't real. It was a negotiation tactic. And now she knows she can string you along indefinitely because you'll accept whatever she's willing to give. So instead, you do something that will feel impossible. You believe her. She says she's not ready. Okay, you're not going to wait around while she figures it out, just because you know what you want and she doesn't want the same thing. Therefore, staying makes no sense. And this is where the truth detector becomes crucial, because the hardest part isn't walking away, it's knowing when you should. Most guys waste months, sometimes years, on women who were never going to give them what they wanted. They miss the signs. They convince themselves it'll change. But this book breaks down exactly how to read her actions versus her words, so you stop wasting time on dead ends. First link in the description. Trust me, knowing this earlier would have saved me a year of my life. But back to the point, when you actually walk away from someone who isn't meeting your standards, two things happen. Either she lets you go, which means you were right, she wasn't going to give you what you wanted, or she realizes what she's losing and comes back with real investment. Not promises, not maybes, actual changed behavior. That's the position you want to operate from always, because making decisions from desperation never works out. When you need someone too badly, you ignore red flags, you accept disrespect, and months later, you wake up and realize you've been settling for someone who was never really choosing you back. But here's the brutal truth nobody wants to hear. Getting what you want from women 99% of the time isn't about learning the right things to say. It's not about texting strategies or when to pull back or how to create mystery. All of that is surface level. The real shift happens when you stop caring about getting what you want from one specific woman and start caring about building a life where you have options. Because options change everything. When you know you can walk away and be fine, when you know there are other women who'd be lucky to have your attention, that's when you stop operating from fear. Because fear is what makes guys mess this up every single time. But abundance, real genuine knowledge that you'll be okay either way, that's magnetic because it means you're with her because you want to be, not because you need to be. Therefore, the most important thing you can do is establish from the beginning that you're willing to lose her. Not because you don't care, but because you care about yourself more. And that self-respect is what makes you attractive in the first place. But here's where this all comes together. When you operate from this frame, getting what you want becomes almost automatic because you're not asking from a place of need anymore. You're offering something valuable and expecting value in return. She wants your time? Great. But your time is limited and she needs to respect it. She wants your commitment? Perfect. But commitment from you means something because you don't give it to just anyone. She wants your attention? She can have it. But she has to keep earning it by showing up consistently and treating you right. This isn't about being transactional. It's about understanding that healthy relationships require equal investment. And when you've built yourself into someone with genuine value, when you've got your life together and you're going somewhere, equal investment becomes the standard, not the exception. But you have to be willing to walk away from anything less. And that's the part that separates guys who get what they want from guys who end up settling. The guys who settle tell themselves stories. She's just going through a rough time. She'll change once she sees how committed I am. I just need to be more patient. But patience without standards isn't a virtue. It's just fear wearing a disguise. Real patience looks different. It's giving someone reasonable time to show you who they are while maintaining your boundaries. It's not rushing them, but also not waiting forever while they figure out if you're good enough. And the moment their actions consistently contradict their words, you believe the actions and move accordingly. So if you take nothing else from this, take this. You don't get what you want by convincing women you're worth it. You get what you want by becoming someone who knows his worth and refuses to accept less. By building a life so solid that her presence enhances it, but her absence doesn't break it. By having enough options that walking away from the wrong situation feels natural, not catastrophic. And when you finally internalize this, something incredible happens. You stop chasing, you stop overthinking, you just live your life and let women decide if they want to be part of it. And the ones who do, they show up consistently. They make it obvious. They don't leave you guessing. That's the 99%. Not every single woman will respond to you. Some won't be interested no matter what you do. Some are in different places in their lives. Some just aren't compatible. But the vast majority, when you present yourself as a man with options, standards, and the willingness to walk away, they'll either step up or step aside. When you realize you had the power the entire time, you just had to stop giving it away to people who didn't earn it. That's when everything clicks, and both outcomes work in your favor. But if you want the complete blueprint for reading women's intentions before you waste months figuring it out the hard way, grab the Truth Detector. First link in the description. It's everything I wish someone had told me before I learned it the expensive way. But if you've gotten it already, then click here to watch this video next. YouTube thinks you'll love it. I'll see you there.